first part of this series, we talked about snapping a line to get the first course of roof deck off to a good start. In this episode, we'll fill up the rest of the roof and talk about workflow. First, it makes sense to work off the pile of sheathing wherever the truck puts it, so make sure the truck puts it where you want, somewhere that you can cut the sheets and pass them up to carpenters on the roof where they can put it on the line and nail it. As you move to higher sections of roof, it makes sense to move the cut station higher in the house so that you can pass the sheets between the rafters. If you're working with 16-inch on-center framing, you usually don't need H-clips. If you're framing with trusses, however, which often use a 24-inch layout, H-clips are needed to reduce the sagging potential of the roof sheathing. One of the drawbacks of H-clips is that they frequently fall out as you wrestle sheets into place, which means you have to struggle with replacing an H-clip with one hand and steadying a full sheet with the other.
I think that's the third time I put that clip on.
Yeah. The workflow is similar to any other team task in home building. No one should really be waiting too much for somebody else. For example, when one sheet has the first few anchor nails in it, the first person moves ahead to measure the next sheet. Julio calls the numbers down to his cut person, while the other carpenter on the roof is nailing off the previous panel. The next sheet is cut by the ground person, while the other two people prepare for the next sheet. Of course, there is overlap. Sometimes the nailer needs to help measure, or if you're working alone, you may have to pull your own numbers in the middle of nailing off the sheet. But in general, each person knows what the other person is doing now and will be doing next. When the cut person finishes passing a sheet up, the measuring person should have numbers ready. The nailer should never run out of nails, which would stop everyone. If the measurement person doesn't have numbers for the cut person, then two people have to wait for him to measure the panel. For the top strip, get a number to the ground person as soon as possible, because they'll need to rip a lot of sheets in order to stay ahead of the workflow. And here's a safety tip. Get rid of all that sawdust on the sheets that you cut. This is usually done by whacking the back of the sheet with your hammer after you cut it and as you are picking it up. Otherwise, use a broom or blower on the roof. With the majority of this roof covered, next time we'll take a look at how to cut the hips and valleys. And then finally, we'll talk about sealing a roof deck for a storm-proof roof.